So we're going to talk about non-sold customer follow-up. The first thing I want to tell you is you can't sell everyone. I know we as salespeople, as sales managers, GMs, dealers, we want to sell everybody that comes into our dealership. I love that approach, and I feel the same way. But let's face facts. We're not going to sell everybody that comes to our dealership a car. Why? Well, some people don't like our products. I mean, they're shopping our products. They gave us an opportunity, and they didn't care. But we should be thankful we had the opportunity to at least make a presentation. But we have to know this, and we can't get discouraged. We have to keep moving forward and moving forward and moving forward. Now, before I get into something, I want to ask you all a question. So I have a polling question here for you, and I want everyone to answer this question. And I want to know who in attendance right now has owned their own business in the past. Would you please click on your screen and let me know how many of you owned your own business in the past? So most of you, the numbers are coming in, well, still coming in. Okay, I got about 75% of you have said you've not, and about 25% of you that said you've had. Okay, I want to ask you now another question, okay? Here's my next question. Who in attendance here would like to own their own business? Who would like to be in their own business? And let's see how those numbers come in. And of course, I'm going to see a higher number on those of you who would like to own your own business, and that is it. I mean, oh my gosh, 80% of you, 81, 82, 83% of you has said you would like to own your own business. Okay, and that's fantastic. So let's talk about something here when it comes to a business, okay, so that you understand, because I think this is very important. When you own a business, you have expenses, okay? You have overhead, you have rent, you have mortgages, you have taxes you have to pay, you have employees, you have insurances, you have advertising expense, you have inventory expenses, you have things, people that clean your office, cut your, you have all these expenses. And a really good business, if they have a 3 to 5% return on their investment, that's considered a success. But think about this for a second. A salesperson in a car dealership, for all intents and purposes, owns their own business. And you have no expenses. You have no exposure. You have no risk. You have nothing. And in most cases, you earn in general between 20 and 25% of the profit of a deal. That is more than the person that owns the business earns, who had all the risk and all the exposure. So why wouldn't you treat this like a business? I mean, think about this. In your business now that you own in selling cars, if you're a salesperson, who pays for your inventory? Who pays for your advertising? Who pays for the insurances, the fixed overhead, all that kind of stuff? So you have to treat your customer base like your business. And your business will give you tremendous rewards. And that means whether they buy from you or they don't buy from you. And I'm going to talk a little about the don't buy part in a few minutes. Now, when someone doesn't buy a car from you, I want to know why. I really want to know. That's important to me. You know, in my industry of selling training, when somebody doesn't accept my training proposal or my training packages, I analyze. I want to know why. Is there something I did? Is it my product? Is it whatever it could be? Now, when people don't buy a car, I narrow it down pretty much to 3 things. Number one is they didn't like the product. And I talked about that a few seconds ago. If they don't like the product, there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, I did my best. Number 2 is the cost. Okay, maybe it was too expensive. Maybe people got scared, got second thoughts about whether they wanted to spend all this money, and maybe something was cheaper somewhere else. I don't know. So the third reason, and I'm going to tell you this, I think this is the biggest reason. It's the salesperson. It's us. It's me. It's you. They're the reason why they didn't buy the car, and we have to evaluate and analyze why. Now, I could tell you, you know, from a cursory view, it's because I think the customer didn't like us. Okay, maybe not a personal dislike, but maybe we applied too much pressure. Our industry is designed around pressure. And for those of you that have been around me for the last 30 years, you know how I feel about that. I believe that when a customer comes to the dealership, we sell the 3 basics. We sell the product, we sell ourselves, and we sell the dealership. And in part of that process, there's nothing to do with trial closes, needs analysis. I don't care if you have a trade in the beginning. All I want you to do is find a car you love, like me, and want to do business at our dealership. So I believe that a lot of people don't buy from us because of the salesperson, because we did the wrong thing. Now, are there other reasons? Sure. Do some people truly want to go home and think about it, digest it? Absolutely. Do people want to compare cars? I agree with that a lot. Now, the hard part about someone that doesn't buy is to know when enough is enough when you push people. Because if you push people too far, they're never going to come back to you. Remember, I don't have to buy my car from you. I can get on the internet and go to a dealership 100 miles away, buy the car, and they'll deliver the car to me, because you would do the same thing in that situation. So we have to be careful when we're in our negotiations. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I'm all about being aggressive. I mean, I want to sell the car, and I want to sell the car deal now. But we have to be able to read the customer. And I don't think we do a good job at that. And I'll give you a great example. Mrs. Smith comes in by herself and says to you, I'm just starting the process and my husband needs to be part of this decision-making process. Why would I push Mrs. Smith? There's no way she's going to do it. All she's going to leave and say, I would never go back to see that individual. So when we're negotiating our car deal, when our managers are coming in and doing our TOs, we have to analyze the situation. And this is a very, very difficult thing to do because you have to get it just right. If you don't get it right, you push too hard, you lose. You know, years ago when I started in the car business, late 70s, early 80s, I was told, you know how you find out you push too hard is when someone gets mad at you. Well, I don't want anybody to ever get mad at me. So let's assume now that we've made a great presentation. The customer likes the car. They like me. They're just not ready to make a decision yet. And they leave. So now what do most people do? How do most people respond and react? What's the next step? Well, when I poll people, they say to me, well, I give the customer a call 4 hours later. Well, you call me. You're calling me on the phone. Look, I don't answer my phone. And I'll give you the best analogy, and I think all of you can relate to this. I have 3 kids. And my middle child, my middle daughter, she's infamous for this. I want to talk to her, so I'll call her on the phone. Maybe she's going to do dinner with me, and I'll call her, and it goes right to voicemail. It doesn't even ring 5. She clicks me off, and I know it. And then I just stare at the phone for the next 5 seconds because I know what's going to happen. She's going to text me, and she's going to say, what did you want? And I'm going to reply back. I'm going to fall into her trap. I wanted to know what we wanted to do for dinner. Are you free to chat? And then she'll text me back and say, well, we want to go to the new Asian restaurant. I'll say, where is that? Okay, what time? And now I'm trapped into her world. You see, folks, people don't talk on the phone that much anymore. We have other forms of communication. Calling a customer back is a surefire way to go to voicemail. Now, I don't know about you. A lot of people don't check their voicemails. I do, but if you ever called someone and says this voicemail is full, I mean, it's like, how could it get to that situation? You have to stop calling. Now, the other thing you have to be careful of is your emails. Too many of us are emailing people. Well, email is an unresponsive event. We do not know if the email's going through. We don't know if it's reading it. Is it going to spam? I have people reach out to me all the time and say, did you get my email? I said, no. Then I'll go and look at my spam, and there it is. Well, you got to check your spam regularly. Well, if I had to check my spam regularly, why do I have spam? If I had to check it regularly, why don't I just come to my regular email? That doesn't make any sense to me. So a lot of people are undeliverable with that stuff. So, of course, you all know where I'm going. It's texting. Texting is the way that most people communicate today, other than other forms of social media. Now, you could text me and I can respond to you, and you can text me 3 or 4 hours later and say, how did you enjoy your experience? Are you still thinking about it? What are your thoughts? You know, the worst thing you can do, I'm telling you this right now, the worst thing you can do is, if I could save you an extra $100, would you buy the car today? Because now what you're doing is you're creating an environment where that customer is just going to sit back and wait and wait and wait. And now what you've done is you've made it all about money. And once you make it about money, everything else you've done is useless. Because I'm going to tell you this, most people will pay more to buy from someone they want to do business with. It's a given fact. We know that. Now, is there a limit? Sure. Will I pay $200 or $300 more to buy from you because I like you? Absolutely. Am I going to pay $1,000 more? No. There's a limit to what I'm going to pay. So stay away from this trap you get into. My manager said, if you bring the car back in, we'll reappraise the car. Well, I'd say, what do you mean reappraise the car? So you didn't give me the right number up front? Now you're starting to turn me off. Now you're coming across as that aggressive salesperson. Or the manager, we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, who calls me up and says, hey, is there anything else we can do? Well, sure. You open the door, lower my payment by $40 and we've got a deal. Why would you ever ask a question like, why would you throw it to me to give you the statement? You know, it's sort of like, and you all know I hate this. I would never ask a customer what they think their trade's worth. Why would I start at their number? I want to start at my number. This is the biggest mistake I think we made, and it cost us tons and tons of gross. Never call somebody else and say, what else can I do? What can I do to earn your business? There is a number you can earn my business at, but I know you'll never earn it. If you really want to do the right thing, make a video. People love videos. They're visual people. Look, if Mr. and Mrs. Smith comes in, or Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith or whoever it is, and they spend 2 hours looking at a car with you, and they spend time with you, it means they're interested. They're going to buy a car here in the very near future. Always remember, when people come to your dealership, call your dealership, email your dealership, they're calling for two reasons. Number one is to get information, okay? Availability, options, accessories, price. They want information. The second reason why they're calling is to size you up, to see if they want to do business with you. So you've got to keep that process moving forward. So now you've got Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Let's make this a perfect scenario. Come in and go through your process. And through the process, they say, listen, we've narrowed it down to 3 cars, and we're looking at yours, this, and this. And they're going to leave. Okay, now you have to be different than those other 2 people. You have to catch Mr. and Mrs. Smith pleasantly off guard, so they want to come back to you. They leave. I'd go out there and make a video of the car. Short, sweet, minute long. With my cell phone. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It was so much fun spending time with you today. I thought I'd make you a quick video of the vehicle that you looked at. This is the Honda Accord white with a camel interior. It's got the sunroof. It's got this. It's got this. It's got this. It's got this. I thought you might like to have this video so you could compare back to it throughout your shopping processes. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And now here's the thing where a lot of people fail. That video has to go on YouTube. It's the only place it can go. Now, don't send it as an MOV file from your cell phone, because now it's going to be a gazillion meg, and I'm never going to open it, okay? Some of your DMS systems will send it, but if it's not posting on YouTube, you lose 90% of the value of why you put it on social media. Because by putting it on YouTube, you can now tag and label the video. 2020 Honda Accord white, your dealership name, the salesperson's name, the zip code, all that kind of information. So now, the more videos you have out there, when somebody in your marketplace happens to be in the market for a Honda Accord and they Google search Honda Accord, guess what's going to show up? Some of your YouTube videos, and it's going to drive traffic to you. It's okay that you said Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Nobody really cares about that. And they see the nice video that was made. And let the process take its own. Now, when you send the video, write a little, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is a short YouTube video I made of the vehicle. And then you want to make sure you ask them a question, because without a question, you don't know if it got delivered. And the question has to be a non-threatening question. Could you please just confirm back that you received this video? And if people are interested, they're going to say, yes, thank you very much. And now you have additional dialogue. Now, we have to be careful, and we can't call and text every 2 hours, 3 hours. We've got to give people some space. Again, are we going to lose deals to our competitor because they like their car better? Absolutely, that's going to happen. Okay. Now, can you send additional videos? Absolutely. If you don't hear back from them, you can send another video 12 hours later. Now I might send them another option. Now I might say, hey, you know what? I was thinking about this overnight, or I was sitting at breakfast this morning and I was thinking about your situation, and I wanted to share with you another vehicle. So that would be my text, and then I'd make a video. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, while I was eating breakfast, I thought of this vehicle. This is very close, but this happens to have 2 added options. And the beauty of these options are they only add $6 a month to the monthly payment. I thought you might want to consider this as well. Could you please confirm that you received this video? And now you're creating dialogue with people, and you're making people understand and see who you are and that you really care about them. This is the best way to communicate with people. Now, if the manager's going to do a follow-up call, and I'm all for the manager making the follow-up call, a day later, 2 days, I love the idea. But as I said earlier, you cannot ask, what can we do to earn your business? That is opening up a Pandora's box. You are never going to win. Never. Nobody's going to say to you, throw in $10 floor mats and you got a deal. It doesn't go like that. It's going to be a ridiculous number, a ridiculous offer that you're not going to entertain anyways. When a manager calls, you should only be calling for one thing, and that's to see how we did. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm David. I'm the manager here at the dealership. I understand you were in 2 days earlier. I would just like to know how we made out, how we did, how your process was at the dealership. And let that, oh, we had a great time. Everything was great. Billy Bob was a wonderful guy. He did a great job, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, great. Are we still in consideration? Absolutely, you're still in consideration. Okay, could I just get a base point of what else are you comparing us to? Well, we're comparing to the Toyota and the Hyundai. Okay, great. Hey, Toyota's a great car. Hyundai makes a great car. Do your comparisons. You see, once you start to knock those competitors' model, now you're going to turn them off. They don't care anymore. You're trying to win them over. You've already given them your best price. You've already made your presentation. Now be the guy that they weren't expecting you to be. Well, we're going on Saturday to look at the Camry. Oh, Camry's a great car, got great features and benefits. There's a lot of similarities between ours and the Accord. When you see them, you'll notice them. Could you please be kind enough to let me know after the visit what your thoughts were? Don't keep pushing the issue. The more you push the issue, the harder it's going to be for them to want to return to your dealership. Okay, so much to talk about in so little time. I want to now share an idea with you. And this is a strong idea, folks. It's very, very strong. And I'm going to flip the topic for a second. Now we're going to talk about sold customers. I'm going to share something interesting with you. My youngest son is going to be a physicist, okay? And a physicist deals with math, and math is all about numbers. And I'll never forget one day I was talking to my son about something car related, and I don't know if he overheard me on a conversation or something. And he said, Dad, I'm confused. How can a salesperson who's been selling cars for 25 years at the same dealership still only sell 12 cars a month? Dad, it doesn't make mathematical sense. So I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't make mathematical sense? Okay, well, Dad, if a salesman in his first 5 years averages 10 cars a month, the math says that some of those people have to come back and buy again. The math says that some of those people have to refer or have other people come back. So the next 5 years, that guy should go from 10 cars to 13 cars. And then in the next 5 years, he should go from 13 to 17 cars. In the next 5 years, he goes from 17 to 22 cars. Mathematically, that is logical. Well, unfortunately, honey, we're not logical people in the car business, and that's not the way it works. And the average guy who sells 10 always sells 10. Well, we know why the average guy only sells 10, and we know why he doesn't increase. He doesn't stay in touch with his customers. He forgets about them. I mean, how many times have you been in a dealership where another salesperson sells another salesperson's customer, and then when they're closing the deal, the salesman says, "Hey, that was my customer. I sold him that car. I sold him a car 7 years ago." Well, they didn't even recognize you. You walked by 5, 6 days. They have no idea who you were. How could you not stay in touch with them? Now, the basic simple thing that I always tell people is this. The best way to stay in touch with somebody is to be their liaison, to be their service customer liaison. See, what I do is every 6 months, I call my customer. Hey, Mr. Smith, it's David over at the dealership. Just calling to remind you your car's due for an oil change and tire rotation. Even if they're getting the reminder on their car, it's a simple, easy call. If I get a voicemail, I leave a message. Sometimes I send a text. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just reminding you the car's due for the next oil change. Would you like me to set up an appointment for you? Do you want to do it on your own? Now, some say, oh, that'd be great if you could do it. I do it, and then I set them up, and then I make sure I come and say hello to them when they're at the dealership. Now, think about this. If I do this with every single one of my customers over a span of 20 years, think of the relationships I'm going to build. I'm going to be a 35, 40, 50 car month salesperson in a reasonable time period, because now I've created relationships. I don't let anybody slide through the cracks. But here's what happens. Let's take the customer we don't sell, okay? I'm going to tell you exactly how this goes down. So customer comes in, we go through the process, we got the worksheet, we present the numbers, and the customer doesn't buy. And then the customer walks out, and the salesman takes the worksheet, crinkles it up, throws it in the trash, says, oh, that guy was an idiot. He was a moron. he wasn't going to buy anything anyways. And he throws the sheet away. And you can't tell me that doesn't happen, because it happens all the time. Why? You've created an opportunity. You've created a customer. You've created the beginning of a relationship. Why would you let that relationship end just because they didn't buy from you at that time? So let's think about this for a second. Now I have Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They don't buy. I call them up. I reach them. So at some point we talk, and they say, David, unfortunately, we decided to buy another car. Does it do me any good to get negative? No. Sure, it gives me 5 seconds of self-gratification. I would say, that's great, fantastic. Hey, that's a great car. You're going to love the car. You're going to enjoy it. It's got a lot of great features. I wish you the best of luck, best of success. If I can ever do anything for you, don't hesitate to give me a call. Now, I can hang up the phone and say my nasty words, but those are only for me. They're not for public consumption. But here's where this gets different. Here's the difference between me and an average salesperson. I'm calling Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 6 months. And you know what I'm saying to them? The same thing I would have said is if they bought the car from me. I would have called them up and I said, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, hey, it's David over at the dealership. I hope you remember me. Listen, I know you ended up going with the other vehicle, but just like our car, that car requires maintenance every 6 months, oil change and tire rotation. I just wanted to let you know that I want to make sure that you do it. And if you'd like to bring it to us, we're happy to do it. We handle all makes and models. Now, let's be realistic. Most people are going to say, no, I'd rather bring it back to the dealership where we bought it. Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to remind you and let you know if there's ever anything I can do to help you or assist you, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks, goodbye. And I'm going to guarantee you that they're going to say something to one another. Oh my God, remember the guy from the Honda store we didn't buy from? He called us up to remind us of an oil change. Okay, forgotten. But guess who I'm calling back 6 months later? And then another 6 months, and then another 6 months, and then another 6 months. And when that car has 24,000 miles on it, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's David over at the dealership. How's the car running? It's running great. Oh, fantastic. Listen, as always, I'm just calling to remind you to do your routine maintenance because it's so important. And again, to let you know that if you'd like to bring it to us, we'd be honored to have the service of your car. Now, I will tell you, some people will come over to my service. They absolutely will. And some won't. I don't care. What I care about is that I'm staying in front of them. Now, think about this for a second. I've been calling Mr. and Mrs. Smith now for 2-3 years. They didn't even buy a car from me. I invested 90 seconds. That's it. 90 seconds every 6 months. You think he's going to talk about me? Absolutely. He'll go to work and say, you can't believe this. The guy that I didn't buy from stays in touch with me. The guy that I bought from, I've never heard from again. He's somewhere. And someone says, hey, we're thinking about buying a new car. I know exactly who you got to call. There's this guy, David Lewis, over at the Honda dealership. This guy is the nicest guy in the world. And he's polite, and he's kind, and he's courteous. And they're going to reach out to me. Now, think about this. That guy that I didn't sell the car to, their car's now 6 years old. They want to buy a new car. How could they not come back to me and give me another shot at selling them a car? Folks, this is the easiest thing in the world. We make hard. We make hard. Now, for all you salespeople out there, I want you to think about this. All you managers, I'm not trying to offend you in any way. But if I had a choice of selling cars or being a manager, I could tell you right now what I'm doing. I'm selling cars because A, it's easier, I will make more money, and I'll be more satisfied. But I'm going to build a book of business. And that book of business will also come from my non-sold customers. And that's what's real important. So we're going to run out of time. So let's recap a couple of things. Not everybody buys from you. It is what it is. Okay? Don't get discouraged. Don't get frustrated. Use the video. Use the power of video. And for those people that don't buy, it's critical. It's critical that you stay in touch with them. So before I start getting to some of my questions, as always, I have 2 more quick polls I would like you to answer. First, if you would be kind enough to give me your feedback on how you thought today's session was. I'd love to know. Did you think it was excellent, good, fair, or poor? Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. You know, this is the one thing that makes me feel good when I see all these excellents coming in. So good, good, good. I appreciate that. Okay, I saw all those. And here's the next question that I always ask. For next Friday, what would you like me to talk about? Would you like me to talk about common mistakes salespeople? Let me launch the poll. Common mistakes salespeople make, how to make inspiring demo drives, or the pros and cons of trial closes. So give me we're gonna pick a topic right now. And it looks like we are going to talk about next week, common mistakes that salespeople make. That is a great topic. Be prepared. We might run a little over 30 minutes because unfortunately there are so many great topics. What did I just do here? Get an exit out of that. Okay, so let me wrap up. Does anybody have it? Thank you all for joining me. Make sure everybody, please be safe, be safe, be safe. Wear your masks, have your masks on all the time. Make sure you vote if you haven't already voted. So let's see what we have for questions. Okay, what about BDC sales? This whole concept works the same for BDC. I love the idea of a BDC. Now, if I was running a BDC department and I knew my salespeople were not doing the right things, then I would take over that lead. I would absolutely take control of the lead. If they're not, I would do the follow-up. See, I'm going to tell you what, if I've got, Billy Bob as a salesperson that doesn't call his people back every 6 months, that customer goes into my BDC. The dealership should not suffer by not having the right type of follow-up going on with that person. We teach BDC all the time how to make these videos. Video. Okay, how do I feel about a mandated minimum number of calls per day? Okay, actually, earlier this morning, I got a question from somebody on our site, one of our members that wanted to know about goal setting and how to do this. I believe, yes, there should be a minimum number of calls per day that somebody makes, but I don't think it should be a large number. If you make it too big, it gets frustrating. So if you want that number to be 5 calls, 7 calls, 9 calls, it should be something that's easy and simple that they don't have to worry about. Okay, can you please go over why salespeople get stuck at 10 cars per month after years? Okay, let me just see, are you available? Are you able to send a video and a link so I can share this with our salespeople or management? Are you able to send this video? No. That was an easy answer for that one. I'm going to come back to the other question. If you are a member of the site of our DLA Live and DLA Online, these are archived. So sometime later this afternoon will be archived. But if you're not a member, unfortunately, we do not share these outside of our members. Okay. Why salespeople get stuck at 10 cars per month after years? There's a number of reasons why. The obvious ones is they do the same things over and over and over again, and they get the exact same results over and over and over again. If you're making the same sales process and the same sales presentation over and over and over again, you're using a 10 car a month sales process. Okay. When I started selling cars in 1979, I was taught a 10 to 12 car a month sales process, and that's what I sold. If you want someone to sell more cars, you have to create a better process. Now, again, for those of you that have been around me for years and years and years, you know how I feel about our processes. I don't like them. I don't like most of it. The steps are okay. I don't like the processes within the steps. I wish I could do another poll. My question would be, how many of you believe that buyers are liars? And I bet you'd all say yes. And then I'd ask you this, and we're going to do this next time. I've got to remember to do this question. And my next question is going to be, do you think that I could work in your dealership for the next 3 months, sell a lot of cars, and never have anybody lie to me? And you're all going to say no. And I'm going to tell you that it's true. I can. You see, people lie because we put them on the spot and we back them into a corner. I would never let anybody lie to me. I'd never ask them questions that would back them into a corner. You see, I don't need to know what your budget is because you're going to lie to me and then you're going to show me the wrong car. See, if I went to the dealership and my budget was $500, I'd tell you $300. And then you're going to show me $300 cars and I'm going to go home and think about it and not buy your car. I don't understand why you need to know who's involved in the buying decision. I don't understand why you need to know if I have a trade in the beginning part of the process or what my trade's worth or how much I owe on my trade. None of this stuff is important to me. You know, I get dealers all the time that say, how do we get the salesperson to do a better job selecting the right car? Well, how do you do that? You stop the stupid questions. The questions are burying you in the car you want to show the customer, and it's the wrong car because the customer lied. I know some of you do needs analysis. I grossly disagree with this. We've studied this. It's 7 out of 9 questions people give false information to. When a customer comes on the lot, I only really want to know a couple of things that I ask. Are you looking for a new or used car? That's not a threatening question. We're looking for a new car. Great. Are you looking for a coupe, sedan, minivan, utility vehicle, or truck? We're looking for a sedan. Fantastic. Let's go look at cars. Why would I want to get you defensive? I don't care what your budget is. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you over to the new sedans. I'm going to start you at the cheapest sedan we have, and we're going to walk through the sedans. Guess what? You'll tell me which sedan you like. You're smart. Customer's smart. Customer will look at the window sticker, and they'll attract to a certain set of cars. They know how much money they can afford. And now they've selected the car. See, I'm only interested in 2 things up front: finding a car they love and getting them to like me. So that's problem number 1, why salespeople get stuck at 10 cars. Number 2 is they can't get these people to drive the cars because they asked the wrong time, the wrong question. Number 3 is they do this 5-minute lap around the block. How are you going to sell me a car that I drive for 6 minutes? I've been with people, I've watched people in a shoe store walk around in the same shoe for 20 minutes to see if it's comfortable. And I feel like saying, shit, it's $90, buy the shoe. If you didn't like it, we'll throw it away. It's no big deal. I got to make sure it's comfortable. I got to make sure. And yet we want to go on a 4-minute lap around the block. That's another problem. The next problem is those darn trial closes at the end. So if we can come together on terms and numbers, you ready to buy the car today? No. Everybody says no. And if they say yes, they would have said yes when you went to close the deal anyways. See, I'm assuming you're buying the car. And the next thing is, our salespeople don't ask for the sale. Circle which one works best for you is not a closing technique. That's pressure. He who speaks first loses is wrong. You want to close a car deal? Present your numbers and ask. 7 words. Would you like to buy the car? You'd be amazed how many people will say yes. And then finally, why they're stuck is because they don't stay in touch with their customers. It's all, they don't stay in touch with their customers. They sell the car and they forget about them. Never to be heard from or seen again. So that's why I say what I said. Okay, what is the number 1 thing to say to non-sold customers that will get them to buy? What is the number 1 thing? Would you like to buy the car? What's the number 1 thing to say to non-sold customers that will get them to buy? I don't think there is one thing you can say to a non-sold customer. A non-sold customer has to be inspired to want to return to your dealership. Now, could you have given them the best price and that drives them back to your dealership? Absolutely. People buy from people they like, people they want to do business with. Okay. I have friends. I live in Melbourne, Florida. Okay. In my county, we have 2 or 3 dealerships of the same brand. I mean, I can go 10 miles this way for a Ford store, 10 miles that way for a Ford store. Even my Highline cars, Mercedes, Lexus, I can go 40 miles over to Orlando. Why do I have to buy from you locally? I don't. And if I don't have a good experience, I'm going to go somewhere else. And if you follow up with me in a manner that I'm not feeling good about, well, guess what? I'm going to go somewhere else. You're driving me somewhere else. You are driving me. Always remember this. The customer that says, I want to go home and think about it, greater than 70% of the time, it's you had them on the wrong car. You had them on the wrong car. Because if they truly loved the car, it would be a different objection. They'd want to try to find a way to buy the car. So I think that, let me see if I have any more questions. What is the non-evasive way to email a customer in the BDC? Okay, first of all, again, I'm not a fan of emailing. Sometimes we're stuck having to email. We have to email people. They've emailed us, we have to email them back. Never, ever, ever ask threatening questions. So what's a threatening question? Well, asking if we can chat on the phone prematurely. Asking if you want to visit the dealership prematurely. You've got to be very careful. When I email you, I'm hiding behind the anonymity of a computer, and I've probably made a fake email address to begin with. So what you need to do is make sure you're asking questions that I find logical. For example, if somebody emails me and wants a price on a car, my first email back would be, for tax purposes, what zip code are you located in? Now, I want to ask that question a lot because now I know where they're coming from. If they're 10 miles away, that's great. If they're 250 miles away, that tells me something different. I like to ask questions, and we talked about this in an earlier session. I like to ask questions that will drive people to think. Tell me what options and accessories are important to you. Let them reply to you. I then might ask if there's an option or accessory missing, like a sunroof. I might say, hey, if I had a car with a sunroof and it was $5 more a month, would you rule that out? I like dialogue. Dialogue gets people thinking. Now, eventually, you've got to turn that email into a phone conversation. You have to. So once that customer feels comfortable with you, then you can convert it over to say, hey, listen, I think this would be a lot easier for both of us if we had a short conversation on the phone. That way I can share much more information with you, get all your questions answered, and give you all the pricing and information you need. I will leave you with this on that thought as well. If somebody is demanding a price, give them a price, okay? Because if you don't, you're gonna lose them anyways. So you gotta take a shot at it anyways.
Thank you for watching my video, and I hope I inspired you. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and click the subscribe button. Once you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell so you can receive more content like this every week. And should you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear them.